What?
Power's gone.
Oh, hang on.
What are we going to do now?
Board game? What was that?
You got to go check.
Well, hang on a minute. Why have I got to go and look? What got you?
Use your camera phone.
Oh, right, all right. You big bloody fairy Ann. Jesus.
Ant?
Who you gonna call?
Ghostbusters! Our courteous and efficient staff is on call 24 hours a day to serve all your supernatural elimination needs.
We're ready to believe you!
That's right, Ghostbusters. Back in 1984, this blockbuster spookfest was released and due to its massive success, spawned a slew of Ghostbuster merchandise, including some games. Some of them great, some not so great. But no one seems to get tired of these lovable spirit bashers, and 30 years on, we're still celebrating this fantastic franchise. But let's go back to where the games began. Way back to 1984, when the first Ghostbusters game was released by Activision.
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you.
The world's #1 selling home computer is now in a family pack.
Does it concern you that we're now kind of repackaging movies? I mean, has the game business now gotten to the movie business and the pop music business?
Not in my opinion. It's been attempted many times before to make games out of movies and any kind of merchandising you can name. In fact, this game began before the movie Ghostbusters as a game of in a very similar fashion of driving through the city streets, doing something once you get to the building, etc. But it was a game which was looking for a theme.
This is the original, where it all started on the Commodore 64, the best in home computing. The Ghostbusters video game stormed onto the system and was praised for its innovation and graphics. It was the ghostbusting experience that everyone wanted. You started the game with a bank loan of $1,000 and you have to build up your ghostbusting business. The Commodore 64 version was designed and programmed by David Crane, the founder of Activision, along with Alan Miller in just 6 weeks. Yowzers! You can see here with movie tie-in games that the game creators were moving away from puzzle games.
What we have now is sort of a short story kind of a form, and more sophistication will come as we have more sophisticated parsers and programs to do it with.
Well, I'm looking forward to more adventure games and certainly playing Ghostbusters.
It's these people, these designers, that were pushing for games to become something more. This was to be the beginning of not only the Ghostbusters game franchise, but for games in general.
Oh, my fondest memory of the first Ghostbusters game was probably just choosing your vehicle and your sort of setup of what you had to, you know, you could choose, I can't remember what it was, I know you could choose the trap and like what type of like bait you wanted or something like that, and I just used to love going to that screen where you could decide what car you wanted, and once you'd like obviously got a bit of money you could buy the like high performance car, and then you'd like choose all your traps and stuff, and really you wouldn't do a lot with this stuff, but it just felt so cool at the time. Just, you know, obviously you move that little icon around the city and then you kind of to wherever it's flashing or whatever, and then you go there, literally just walk up, boop, drop a trap out and then collect the ghost, which felt really cool at the time obviously, but looking back at it now you kind of think, okay, that was actually all it was.
Activision acquired the license early in the film's production, and most of the game was finished by the time Crane watched the film. The last week of the game's 6 weeks production was spent making the game's intro and having it play the iconic Ghostbusters theme.
If you don't feel like singing along, or if you don't have a crowd in your living room to yell Ghostbusters at the appropriate time, the machine will do that for you.
Later ports of the game to the Nintendo Entertainment System would feature a new end screen that was riddled with bad spelling and grammar that would make the most seasoned gamer cringe. And here it is. Yep, that actually got into the shops. I'm not joking. Ooh, ouch. With the success of the movie, a cartoon series was born. This itself spawned games and toys galore. Amongst all the hype and craze, the real Ghostbusters game hit the arcades. Based directly on the cartoon series, you and two friends could take control of the busting team and smoke some ghosts. The characters didn't differ from each other, other than the colour of their uniforms, so there wasn't really any love there. However, the cabinet itself featured artwork from the famed cartoon series. But who cares when you could cross streams and bust ghosts for 10 coin-sucking levels? It eventually went to number 2 in the UK sales chart.
Well, I've got a few memories, but my earliest memory, I guess, is it's one of my birthdays. I can't actually remember which one, but it was during the real Ghostbusters cartoon craze when all the toys were the thing to have, you know. And I remember getting the Ghostbusters station, like as like one of my main presents. And that birthday, I had like a Ghostbusters cake, and I had like other Ghostbusters toys. I got the gyrocopter. Do you remember that? The gyrocopter. I got that and a couple of the figures, and yeah, that whole year, and possibly a few years after that, was just Ghostbusters mad. And I got all the toys, and my first vinyl ever for music was the Ghostbusters theme tune by Ray Parker Jr. on vinyl, and I've still got it somewhere. Ghostbuster fever was in full swing, and in 1989 fans were given another dose of the gang.
Ghostbusters 2.
We're the best! We're the beautiful! We're the only Ghostbusters! We're back!
Ghostbusters 2, the sequel movie, was swiftly released, and with it was, yep, you guessed it, Ghostbusters 2, the video game. Various different versions were released, as always featuring differences like graphics and various gameplay mechanics, but all loosely followed the film script for the most part. The home computer editions were published by Activision. Perhaps most graphically appealing was the version released for the Amiga.
Re-experience the mind, unbounded. Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Featuring the popular level that required Ray Stantz to descend on a cable into the abandoned subway to gather slime samples. And this version featured the best Statue of Liberty sequence, allowing you to throw fireballs at ghosts as you stomped your way through New York City. The NES version was more of a top-down perspective in the style of Zelda, which may sound like the norm, however it also gave the player control of a fireball shooting Statue of Liberty. Albeit not as great as the Amiga edition, it was still awesome. It was also noted for being one of the few Ghostbusters games to have Winston Zeddemore as a playable character. As time cracked on, there was even a version released on Game Boy in 1990, just simply titled New Ghostbusters 2. However, when the game was released in America, due to licensing issues with Activision, they lost the new part of the title. Why? Politics, man. Politics. The gameplay featured you taking control of the Ghostbusters, and you cleared rooms of ghostly nasties. Once cleared, an arrow would indicate where to go next. Well made, and it was a joy to play. If you've got an old Game Boy kicking around and have an eBay account, then this may well be worth a pickup. Seriously, it's the in thing to have an old school Game Boy sat on your coffee table right now.
My earliest memory of Ghostbusters was, well, I never really saw the films till years later, and then I always started with the real Ghostbusters, and I remember having all the toys, Ecto-1, all the figures, the Stay Puft, you name it. And one day I went to go and find these toys in the loft, discovered they were completely gone, and my mum had actually given them away to a play school. And I went there one day to pick my sister up when she was only little, and I saw this kid playing with an Ecto-1. No! My toys were in this play school. I went in, saw this kid about to bash Ecto-1 off the floor, and I'm not joking you, I snatched the toy off him, pushed him out of the way. I went, no, you don't play with it like that.
It was a double whammy for the Busters that year. as a Mega Drive/Genesis game simply called Ghostbusters was released, which featured cartoon versions of the characters from the movie. However, not everyone is present, as there is a noticeable absence of Winston Zeddemore.
Black.
There seems to be no reason for him not to be there, as the game is set after the first movie, yet his absence has been the topic of a lot of discussion. Each level contains a number of mid-level bosses known as middle ghosts, which once defeated turn into little green ghosts that can be captured for extra money using the ghost trap. The game also featured the reappearance of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, which was another odd inclusion, as the evil Queen Gozer was defeated, so there shouldn't be a Stay Puft, right? Well, the game does make a half-assed explanation for cranking him in there by saying it was a normal guy that got fat from eating too many Stay Puft marshmallows. Well, I'd watch them sweets, kids, if I were you.
There was a huge gap in the Ghostbusters legacy from here on until late 1997, when the cartoon Extreme Ghostbusters was released. This fresh reboot of the franchise aired in September of '97 and had a successful run of 40 episodes. It also featured voice actress Tara Strong voicing the character Kylie, and brought back original voice actor Maurice LaMarche to voice Egon Spengler again, which instantly gave the series a link back to the real Ghostbusters. Again, this spawned a number of Extreme Ghostbuster games on the PlayStation 1, the Game Boy and PC platforms. The most successful of these releases was Extreme Ghostbusters Ecto-1. The game was a combination platform and shooter game with some races, using a top-down perspective. There were 12 platform levels and 4 regions. It is especially interesting that the ghosts in this game can either be blasted by the proton gun or trapped. Unfortunately, the Extreme Ghostbusters games weren't very well received, and Ecto-1 was often mistaken for the poor quality Game Boy Color version. The reboot was perhaps too short-lived, but there's still plenty of room to play with these characters, and it would be amazing if a new Extreme Ghostbusters game would surface. It still managed to touch the hearts of many fans, but we were still left eagerly awaiting a trip down memory lane and to be reunited with the original cast. But sadly, it was about to go quiet once again.
Fondest memory? Library scene.
Definitely library scene.
I remember actually I was speaking to my parents the other day and they told me how old I was when I first watched it. And I was 3 years old. Good parenting. And yeah, it's just that library always had me.
I remember cowering into the back of the sofa every time they, the ghost would turn and you could see it coming up. It was just
as soon as you saw like, the drawers open, you knew something was coming.
Get her!
Silence for the Ghostbusters would fall once again, as we faced another gap. Rumours of a third movie were still being circulated, with actor Dan Aykroyd really pushing for it.
The world, or our dimension that we live in, our 4 planes of existence, length, height, width, and time, become threatened by some of the research that's being done, and Ghostbusters, new Ghostbusters, have to come and solve the problem.
Finally, in 2009, we would see the release of the Ghostbusters video game that merged the love of the films with the immersion of the video games.
Why do the good ones always play hard to get?
From way back in 1984, this is what Crane wanted. This is the next level of video games that the industry had finally reached to really tell the story properly. And with the original cast on board to reprise their roles, a brand new story, this was the closest fans were ever going to get to the Ghostbusters. And it was amazing.
The gamers have taken the original story and they've really gone as far out to the technical limits of the hardware and the software, and they've taken it to the parameters that the video games are capable of today, and they were able to do so because we stayed out of their way. We let them run with it, and they come up with great stuff.
This game was literally released console-wide. Hell, even Windows got it. You're armed with the usual array of ghost-busting gadgets, which can be upgraded over time and made truly badass. Being this new recruit working alongside the original cast was just jaw-dropping, and you really felt like you were hanging out with the guys and going on an adventure with them.
Gas. Catch the next one. Relax, sir. We handle foul vapors all the time.
The campaign in the PS3, Xbox 360 and Windows versions are identical. However, the PS2, Wii, PSP and DS versions are completely different due to the systems not being able to handle the computing power of their console cousins. They opted to give them more cartoony, stylized graphics. The game also featured online multiplayer, allowing people to team up with their friends to either trap ghosts or protect ghost disruptors. The script for the game was intended to be the third movie, which sadly never came to pass.
On the 17th of September 2014, Dan Aykroyd has said he wants to do a Ghostbusters-style universe in line with Marvel's own shared universe. There is also talks of a reboot with women in the lead roles. Our love for the Ghostbusters has never waned, even though since the 80s all we've had to keep us going is fond memories, toys, 2 cartoons and a handful of movie tie-in games, culminating in this fantastic Ghostbusters fan service game that will keep us going until the Busters resurface yet again. We are so sad to have lost Harold Ramis, and the Ghostbusters will never be the same without him. We have the future to look forward to, and Dan Aykroyd's continuing push for a new film is enough to keep us on the edge of our seats. Here's to you, Ghostbusters. Whenever there's something spooky going on, we know exactly who to call.
That's your cue, killer. Something strange